everyone, and welcome back to Full Circle Healing, Teas and Tarot. My name is Sarah C, and today I am starting my canning for the season. Just doing a little bit, getting ahead of the game. My supply is low, so I want to make sure that I have it up for the winter time, especially the soups and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Thanks for sticking around. So here I am cutting up some chicken, and I have these Piano jars of Alfredo that I got from Aldi's, and these are totally reusable, which is great. So if you have an option to get glass over plastic, do get the glass, or even over tin. When I was very poor, I got the Hunt's canned spaghetti sauce, and you could always taste a little hint of canny metal in there. But anyway, if the ring inside is good and rubbery and you feel you got a good seal on it and it doesn't look rusty or harmed in any way, go right ahead and use it. Reuse it. You'll know if it is not working correctly. You know, if it didn't seal right, you'll know it. So if it doesn't seal at the end of your boiling period, then let it cool down and stick it in the fridge and eat it within the next 2 or 3 days. Unless this is food that was leftovers, then you want to eat that in 1 to 2 days. So let's cut some chicken. Oh, by the way, I have already sterilized these and put them away after drying with the caps on, so I do not see the need to re-sterilize everything. I'm just saying. Trying to get ahead of the game. So here, even though I have a bunch of stuff in my way, we're going to make this happen. All right. So here you're going to take off your covers. That does not look good. That got missed in the dishwasher by someone. It could have been me. This one looks like it's got a little bit of mold growing, so that's something else that you want to look for, because you don't want to use it if there was any kind of leftover food. So what I'm going to do is wash this with extremely hot water and soap, because back in the day, Mennonites didn't have dishwashers. You know, they just washed it by hand. I've heard many of them say that. Hot water, wash by hand. They didn't always boil caps and lids and all that stuff. So take that advice at your own risk, because now that we have laws and everybody's got to abide by this and that, and someone got sick, so it spoiled it for everybody. If you do it right, you'll never have a problem. But follow my instructions at your own risk because of these guidelines, and that is your, what do you call that? Disclaimer. There it is. Disclaimer. Good. And that one's good. So I have 4 here I can use until I figure out what we're doing here. Energy's on the way. I love Monster Juice. No, this is not an ad. They're not paying me. I just love Monster Juice. And like I've told you before, when I like something, I talk about it. Okay. You're going to want vinegar, apple cider. I have organic here. You're going to want to put a little bit into a bowl. So here I have a little dish, and I've given this a shake so the mother's all throughout. You're just going to put some in here, and you're going to grab yourself a little paper towel. And we want to make sure that the seal is good and there is nothing going on between the seal and what you've put in there. Also, some people use plastic, some people use metal. I don't care either way. This one doesn't 100% fit, so I might have another one. I'm going to start cutting these up. Now, I would suggest that you keep some of this plain case you want to make a chicken salad or something like that, you know, or some kind of chicken dish. I'm cutting them in cubes like this and putting them in. There's nothing fancy or special about it. Like I said, usually this would go inside, but, and that's to keep it from touching the edges, basically. I have a big panela here, or stock pot, for those of you who do not know what a panela is. There we go again. I don't even, you know what? Screw that thing, because I'm going to clean the top off anyway. With the vinegar, you see? I mean, I can try and put this in without it touching the sides, you know what I'm saying? Trim off the fat. I don't need no fat. What I do is I leave a little bit of meat on there and the fat, and I'll put all my scraps in a bag and I'll freeze it, and I'll use that for my pet food. Or I'll put it in a smaller jar and I'll boil it with the rest of my stuff and then have it on the shelf in case I ever run into a pinch. Now, if you're going to make a dish with this and add other seasonings to it later on, I would keep the chicken plain. If you want a flavor to it and you have some sort of idea of what you're going to do with it, you can add bouillon, any kind of seasonings, just to give it a little kick of flavor. You're going to get your water boiling. By the time you're done cutting up your food, you should have a pretty good rolling boil. I learned many things the hard way. You don't have to add vinegar to your food because it tastes like shit unless it really calls for something that has to have it. It really has ruined some of my food. It just tastes like a boiled dinner because I love to, like, you know, soak my boiled dinner in vinegar and salt and pepper and butter. Some of you like mustard, but I'm not a mustardy kind of fan with my boiled dinners. So that was one thing I learned. And there are many Mennonites on YouTube that will claim the same. Again, disclaimer. Follow at your own risk. Because we have guidelines, FDA stuff. Second, don't ever fall asleep while you're doing this. I did it and I blew up an entire pan of mason jars, the big ones. It was bad. I had white potatoes and sweet potatoes all over my kitchen, my ceiling, everything. It was so bad. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're setting timers for every hour to add water to what has boiled down or your shit will explode. I learned that firsthand. Third. Let me think about that for a second. Let's keep cutting. Thirdly. Oh, very important. And I learned this from my sister-in-law, and I will never do it another way. I know there's a ton of people who got recipes who are like, oh, you can boil your green beans and can them in 15 minutes. And yeah, okay. Well, that's fine for those time savers, but I just want to not die when I eat my food. So what I do is I stick to 3 hours. It doesn't matter what you're cooking. It could be meat, it could be pasta, it could be soups, whatever. Vegetables. You know? 3 hours for everything. You're going to set a timer for an hour, and then when that hour's up, you're going to add more water until it either covers it or is up to the neck of the jar. Okay? That's how I do it. 3 hours. So I'll be right back as soon as I'm done cutting up this chicken. Okay, so now I have all the chicken in the jars. I have my scraps for my fur babies. The water is at a boil, and I'm going to get another jar for this because I'm going to boil the scraps right along. And since I only have a few jars, I think I'm going to add the kale soup that I made yesterday. You know, I mean, next month I might feel like having a bowl of kale soup instead of leftover turkey. Just saying. Here's a container that I had up in my cabinets. I save all these, like I was saying, so this will be a good fit. We're just going to add those in. And it's a different size jar, so you won't accidentally get them confused with your own. A lot of nice fat in there. It's good for the fur, the coats. Nice silky coat. Thick coats in the winter to keep them warm. Alrighty. So there you have that. It's a fresh paper towel. I just dried my hands with it. No big deal. They're still dry. And what you're going to want to do here, at this point, if you're going to add any seasoning, you just want to throw it on top. Okay? One of the seasonings that I like to use is the Calda de Tomate. So I like this. It gives it's a chickeny tomato base broth that it makes, and it's absolutely delicious. But again, I'm doing plain ones today. You just want to dip it and wipe it around the mouth of the jar. Dry it and make sure there's no water that's going to collect in the space, but you also know that it's very clean. Next, I'm going to add water. It should be warm or hot water. Some people say add boiling water, but it's fine. You're going to put this up to the neck. Now you see here it's bubbling up. You just want to take like a straw or a chopstick or something just to kind of get those air bubbles out. It's nothing major. Then you know how much water you have because everything's kind of settled in, and you can add a little bit more water. Like I said, you fill it up to the neck. This is great. You want it, that's probably a little tighter than finger tight, but you want it finger tight, okay? And when it's sealed, it'll be pushed in until you open it again, like anything else you get at the store. Okay, so there's one. I'm going to put them all in together. We're going to do the next one. You're doing the same thing. All around it. Make sure you got nothing that's going to get between the cover or anything else. I'm adding my water. Some people would add water first, but, you know, I'm not an ADHD person. I do things ass backwards a lot of the time. It still works. I'm going to add up to the neck. I could probably give it another. And that's called headroom, because you want things to be able to boil and move around. And here, if it makes you feel better, I'll give it another swipe. Finger tight. You can see it's going in and out, so that one is ready to also go in the water. Okay. You're welcome to add some salt and pepper to taste. If you have a canning kit, there's probably a skinny spatula that comes with yours. I have one too. I forgot all about it, but it's in my drawer. You can use one of those also, and it serves the same purpose as this chopstick here. Okay, and now that this one could use a little more. This one could use just a touch more. Smooth surface. Finger tight. Check the seal. Okay, last one. Now I'm going to get some of this kale soup I made yesterday into these jars because I want to get those up on the shelf, and there's tons of vitamins in there. Here I found my other funnel, and anything that you take out of the fridge that you want to can, make sure that you microwave it or heat it up first so that you're not putting cold against hot, and that too will break your glass and ruin everything that you're doing. Just say it. So I put this in for 5 minutes. It's now at room temperature. It doesn't have to be hot. Let's have a little later. Kale soup. This is Portuguese kale soup. I did not have linguiça links. All I had left was ground linguiça, which is okay. The flavor's all still there. It's very tasty. But that's what I use this time because that's what I have. So there you go. Again, I've already sterilized and done everything I need to do with the jars, the lids, potatoes in this one. Kale soup is kale. Whoops, that's not a very tight seal. Is kale, so you might want to tip it if you don't have a tight seal. That way it falls in here. Potatoes, Portuguese linguiça, kidney beans, or like white northern beans, depending on what you like. So that's pretty good, and I'm just going to add a little more broth to it. Add some bay leaves, definitely a lot of garlic. It's delicious. You use a beef broth base. I made it extra large. And bay leaf. All right, so that one's done. Just gonna wipe down the jar. I get myself another piece of paper towel. I'm going to clean that up one more time just to make sure there is nothing interfering with the seal. I love doing this. I really do. Settling into my middle ages, I guess you could say. Oh, did we do the thing? Yeah. For those of you saying, you didn't do the thing! Well, here, I'm doing the thing. Okay? It's not necessary for everything. It really isn't. But you can see when it is. It's all about common sense. Doing more, that was a big portion, but this is more of a normal size portion, I guess. Keeps yelling at me. Hello, I see you. I told you I made a lot. I can say that I got 4 jars of soup, 4 jars of chicken, and a jar of pet food. Not bad for 3 hours work. So that's 4 meals. That could actually be 8 meals if you split some of these bigger ones in half with something else, you know, grilled cheese or tuna sandwich or something, you know. All right, so now I'm going to turn this back up to boil. And what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you have one of these cages. They come in really handy. These things are hot, they're heavy, and it's an easy way to lift it up. So I am just going to place these gently, the bigger ones in the corners, the 4 corners, like so, just to balance everything out. And then I'm going to add in the others. Big one in the middle there. You want a little bit of space between each one, and I have that. So what I got 9 in here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Okay. I'm going to let those sit at the top of the water for a minute while I'm getting it back to a boil. That'll heat up the bottom of the jars without shocking them completely. And then I'm going to add some water on top. So I have cleaned up my mess. I have set my timers for a 3-hour timer and a second 1-hour timer so that I can check it. And then I don't have to remind myself of what time. It's my stupid way I do it. It works for me. So I set my first timer for 3 hours, and then I set one for 1 hour, and as soon as that goes off, I add water to the top, okay, so that it's to the neck of the jars. Then I set another timer for 1 hour, and I do the same thing, and I repeat that until I've hit the 3-hour mark. So here I'm gonna set these in gently. That's pretty full. It's covering all of them, and people have a different way of doing it. Some people will say, make sure the lids are covered completely. Others will say you only need to do it up to the neck of the jars, that kind of thing. So whatever your poison is, I think I'm going to take like a measuring cup of water out of here, because once it starts boiling, it gets all excited and bubbly, and, you know, things start happening. I'm just going to take a little bit off the top, pour it right in the sink. That'll clear any drain. Now I feel a little more comfortable. It's kind of just kissing the top of the lids, and you want to see this, don't you? So this is what it looks like, okay? And you're going to let that come to a boil. You're going to cover the pan with just a little bit open. Put a fan on. And the only reason I haven't done that yet is because I don't have my microphones on today. And you probably couldn't hear me very well. And I had to turn up the volume when I was editing, so it sounds a little bit off. Maybe. Who knows? We'll find out. So, fan. Okay, everyone. So my grandson's got some weird music playing in the background, but that's okay. So here we are. We're at the end. I've hit my 3 hours, and it's still very hot, okay? If you were doing everything right, you were adding water every hour. So here I'm going to take this up like so. Do you hear it? I heard it. Any more? I love when that happens. I love when that happens. So now I'm going to, there was another one. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way, and I am going to put down a cloth so that I can take these out and set them to cool. This is a good one. Isn't this cute? Look at that. Marshalls. I love Marshalls. Then we have our handy dandy whatchamacallit thing here, so we can pull the cans out in a safe manner. Oh, that one just popped. Okay, so some of them have sealed themselves. The rest will follow. If you want to see what it looks like, there it is. Actually, still boiling. It's very hot. Watch out, baby kitty. There we go. And that's the last one. And that's how you successfully can food. So thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you liked my little ADHD instructional thing, you can subscribe and hit that bell so you know the next time that I have a video up. Thank you again, and until next time, blessed be.